Most people believe that building deep connections is simply about spending time with others, but that idea is fundamentally flawed and leads to widespread loneliness. We are living in an era where digital interactions have replaced genuine human engagement, leaving many of us feeling more isolated than ever before. You likely find yourself surrounded by people, yet still experiencing a profound sense of disconnect. Think about your last truly meaningful conversation. When was the last time you felt completely understood, seen, and valued by another person? If you are struggling to recall such an experience, you are not alone. The modern world has created a paradox. We are more connected digitally than ever before, yet we are experiencing an epidemic of loneliness. This disconnect impacts our mental health, our physical well-being, and our overall happiness. The scientific community has been studying this phenomenon for years, and the findings are both startling and illuminating. Researchers are uncovering the precise mechanisms that foster deep, authentic relationships. It turns out that the common advice you receive about simply putting yourself out there is woefully inadequate. It misses a crucial element, a mental framework that is essential for genuine human connection. Consider the millions of people who diligently attend social events, join clubs, and swipe through dating apps, only to find themselves still feeling empty. They are following the prescribed steps, yet the desired outcome remains elusive. This widespread frustration points to a deeper issue, a misunderstanding of what truly binds people together. The superficial interactions we often engage in do not satisfy our innate human need for belonging and deep connection. This is not about being an introvert or an extrovert. It is about understanding a fundamental aspect of human psychology. The research reveals that the quality of our interactions, not just the quantity, is what truly matters. We are wired for deep connection, and when that need is unmet, we suffer. This is why so many individuals feel a persistent ache of loneliness, even when they are surrounded by others. The key lies in a concept that scientists have been exploring, a state of optimal experience that can be cultivated in our interactions. This state, when applied to human relationships, unlocks a powerful pathway to genuine connection. It is not about grand gestures or elaborate plans. It is about a subtle shift in our approach to engaging with others. Imagine a world where every conversation felt rich and fulfilling. Picture yourself effortlessly building trust and rapport with people. This is not a fantasy. It is an achievable reality when you understand the science behind deep human connection. The research I am referring to comes from a fascinating study that sheds light on this very subject. A team of researchers, led by J.J. van den Hout, published a groundbreaking study in the Journal of Psychology titled The Conceptualization of Team Flow. While the title might suggest a focus solely on group dynamics, the underlying principles have profound implications for individual human relationships. They explored what happens when individuals are deeply engaged, working together seamlessly towards a common goal. This concept of flow, as described by psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, is a state of complete absorption in an activity. It is a feeling of energized focus, full involvement, and enjoyment in the process of the activity. Van den Hout and his colleagues extended this idea to teams, observing how groups could achieve this state of collective flow. What they discovered is that team flow is not just about shared tasks. It is about shared mental frameworks, mutual understanding, and a sense of unified purpose. When a team experiences flow, individuals feel a deep sense of connection and synergy. They are no longer just individuals working side by side. They become a cohesive unit, operating with remarkable efficiency and satisfaction. The implications for our personal relationships are immense. If we can cultivate these elements of flow in our one-on-one interactions, we can move beyond superficial pleasantries and forge truly deep connections. The core of this lies in understanding how to create an environment where both individuals feel fully engaged, where their contributions are valued, and where there is a shared sense of purpose, even in the simplest of interactions. Let's delve into why so many people struggle with this. The primary reason is a pervasive misunderstanding of what constitutes meaningful interaction. We are conditioned to believe that communication is about exchanging information, about talking and listening. But true connection goes far beyond mere information transfer. It requires a shared presence, a mutual attunement, and a willingness to be vulnerable. Many people operate with a transactional mental framework in their relationships. They approach interactions as a series of exchanges, looking for what they can gain or give. This leads to conversations that are often superficial, polite, but ultimately unfulfilling. They might ask, "How are you?" and expect a standard, "Fine, thanks." They are not truly seeking to understand the other person's inner world. This transactional approach prevents the emergence of flow because it keeps individuals at a safe, emotional distance. There is no deep engagement, no shared challenge, and no sense of unified purpose. The interaction remains on the surface, failing to tap into the deeper human need for connection and belonging. Consider someone who constantly checks their phone during a conversation. They are signaling that the digital world holds more importance than the person in front of them. This breaks the potential for flow and creates a barrier to connection. The other person feels devalued and unseen, and the opportunity for a deep interaction is lost. Another common mistake is the fear of vulnerability. We are taught to put on a brave face, to present a polished version of ourselves to the world. While this may be useful in some professional contexts, it is detrimental to building deep relationships. Vulnerability is the bedrock of trust and intimacy. Without it, connections remain shallow. The study on team flow highlights the importance of shared goals and mutual understanding. In personal relationships, this translates to having a shared intention for the interaction. Are you simply passing the time, or are you genuinely seeking to connect with the other person on a deeper level? This intention sets the stage for everything that follows. The researchers observed that in teams experiencing flow, there was a high degree of mutual awareness. Members understood each other's strengths and weaknesses, and they could anticipate each other's needs. This level of attunement is what allows for seamless collaboration and a profound sense of camaraderie. Now, let's bring this back to your personal relationships. Imagine you are meeting a friend for coffee. Instead of defaulting to the usual small talk about the weather or work, you could intentionally set a different intention. You might decide to truly listen, to ask open-ended questions that invite deeper reflection, and to share something of your own inner world. The science behind team flow suggests that when individuals are fully absorbed in a shared activity, they experience a heightened sense of connection. This absorption is characterized by clear goals, immediate feedback, and a balance between challenges and skills. When applied to interpersonal interactions, this means creating an environment where both individuals feel engaged, understood, and that they are contributing to something meaningful. The team in this context can be as small as 2 people. The shared activity is the conversation itself, or perhaps a shared experience like watching a movie or going for a walk. The goals are not necessarily grand objectives, but rather the intention to connect, to understand, and to be understood. Think about how children play. They become completely engrossed in their imaginative worlds. Their interactions are spontaneous and authentic. They are not concerned with social niceties or impressing others. They are simply present and engaged. This is a natural form of flow that we often lose as we mature. The research by Van den Hout and his colleagues also identified the importance of a sense of control and a loss of self-consciousness within the flow state. When individuals feel in control of their contributions and are not worried about how they are perceived, they are more likely to be fully present and engaged. This is crucial for building trust and intimacy. The paradox of deep connection is that it often requires letting go of our need for control and our fear of judgment. It means stepping outside of our comfort zone and allowing ourselves to be truly seen. This can be frightening, but it is also where the most profound rewards lie. The first mistake most people make is approaching relationships with a passive mindset. They wait for connection to happen to them, rather than actively creating it. They believe that if a relationship is meant to be, it will simply develop without effort. This is a recipe for disappointment. The second mistake is the overemphasis on superficial commonalities. While shared interests are helpful, they are not the foundation of deep connection. True connection is built on shared values, mutual respect, and a willingness to navigate challenges together. Focusing solely on shared hobbies can lead to many acquaintances but few true friends. The third mistake is the inability to provide and receive genuine feedback. In flow states, immediate feedback is crucial. In relationships, this translates to being able to offer honest, constructive feedback and to receive it graciously. This creates a dynamic of growth and mutual understanding. So, how do you cultivate this state of connection, this interpersonal flow? It begins with a conscious shift in your intention. When you engage with someone, decide that your primary goal is to truly connect with them. This means being fully present, actively listening, and being willing to be vulnerable. The science suggests that clear goals are essential for flow. In your interactions, your clear goal is to understand the other person's perspective and to share your own authentically. This creates a shared purpose for the conversation. Immediate feedback is also a key component. In a conversation, this means paying attention to the other person's nonverbal cues, their tone of voice, and their emotional responses. It also means offering your own responses in a way that is clear and understandable. The balance between challenges and skills is another critical element. The challenge in a conversation is to move beyond superficiality and to explore deeper themes. Your skill is your ability to listen empathetically, to ask insightful questions, and to share your own thoughts and feelings with authenticity. Let's consider a real-world example. Sarah, a woman in her late 30s, felt increasingly isolated after a difficult breakup. She found herself withdrawing from social interactions, believing she was not good at forming lasting relationships. She would attend social gatherings but often found herself standing alone, observing others, and feeling a profound sense of inadequacy. She learned about the principles of flow in relationships and decided to experiment. Instead of going to a party with the goal of meeting new people, she went with the intention of having one meaningful conversation. She approached a woman she didn't know well, and instead of asking about her job, she asked about a passion project the woman had briefly mentioned online. This simple shift in intention, from superficial inquiry to genuine curiosity, opened the door. The woman, surprised and delighted by the genuine interest, began to share enthusiastically. Sarah listened intently, asking follow-up questions that showed she was truly engaged. She also shared a personal anecdote related to the topic, revealing a moment of vulnerability. Within 15 minutes, they had moved from polite acquaintances to individuals sharing a deep, engaging conversation. The woman later told Sarah that she felt incredibly seen and understood. Sarah, in turn, felt a sense of warmth and connection she hadn't experienced in months. This one interaction, cultivated with the principles of flow, had a significant impact on her sense of belonging. The mechanism at play here is the creation of a shared mental space. When you are fully present and engaged, you create an environment where the other person feels safe to open up. This mutual opening up is what fosters intimacy and trust. The loss of self-consciousness that is characteristic of flow allows for genuine interaction to occur. The twist, the unexpected element that changes everything, is that deep connection is not something you find, it is something you create. It is an active process, a skill that can be learned and honed. Many believe it is a passive experience, dependent on finding the right person or the right circumstances. This misconception is the root of so much loneliness. The science of team flow reveals that when individuals are deeply immersed in a shared activity, they experience a loss of time and a heightened sense of enjoyment. This same phenomenon can occur in interpersonal interactions. When you are truly connecting with someone, the hours can feel like minutes, and the experience is deeply satisfying. This state of deep engagement is characterized by several factors. There is a clear sense of what needs to be done, with immediate feedback on how one is progressing. The challenges are perceived as manageable, and the skills required are well matched. In relationships, this means having a shared understanding of the interaction's purpose and being able to effectively communicate and respond. The researchers observed that teams in flow reported higher levels of satisfaction and commitment. This translates directly to our personal lives. When we experience deep connections, our overall happiness and sense of well-being increase dramatically. The challenge, of course, is to consistently achieve this state. It requires conscious effort and a willingness to step outside of your comfort zone. It means prioritizing genuine engagement over superficial interactions. It means choosing presence over distraction. Consider the impact of technology on this. While it offers convenience, it also creates a constant temptation to disengage. The ping of a notification can instantly pull you out of a deep conversation, breaking the flow and hindering connection. This constant interruption is a major barrier to building the kind of relationships we crave. The research by Van den Hout et al. Provides a powerful framework for understanding how to foster these deep connections. It moves beyond vague advice and offers concrete principles that can be applied to everyday interactions. It highlights that the quality of our engagement is paramount. The concept of team flow is not limited to work environments. It is a description of optimal human experience, a state of being where individuals are fully absorbed, engaged, and connected. When we can translate these principles to our personal relationships, we unlock a profound capacity for intimacy and belonging. The key takeaway is that deep connection is an active, intentional process. It requires you to be present, to be curious, and to be willing to be vulnerable. It is about creating a shared mental space where both individuals feel seen, heard, and valued. This is not about being perfect or always saying the right thing. It is about the intention to connect and the willingness to be present. It is about understanding that the most meaningful experiences often arise from challenges that are met with complementary skills and a shared purpose. The impact of these deep connections extends far beyond individual happiness. They are the bedrock of strong communities, resilient families, and a more compassionate society. When we are deeply connected to others, we are more likely to contribute positively to the world around us. The science tells us that flow states are inherently rewarding. This means that the act of creating deep connections is, in itself, a source of joy and fulfillment. It is a positive feedback loop that encourages us to continue to cultivate these meaningful interactions. The initial hurdle for many is the fear of rejection or judgment. We worry that if we open ourselves up, we will be met with indifference or criticism. This fear, while understandable, prevents us from experiencing the profound rewards of genuine connection. The research suggests that when we are in a state of flow, self-consciousness diminishes, and this fear becomes less potent. The study on team flow also emphasized the importance of a shared understanding of roles and responsibilities. In interpersonal relationships, this translates to a mutual understanding of each person's needs and contributions to the interaction. It is about ensuring that both individuals feel they are playing a valuable part. The profound truth is that loneliness is not a character flaw. It is a symptom of unmet needs, and those needs can be met by intentionally cultivating deep connections. The science provides a roadmap for how to do this, moving beyond superficial advice and into the realm of actionable strategies. The path to deep connection is paved with presence, curiosity, and vulnerability. It requires you to be the architect of your relationships, not just a passive observer. It is about actively creating the kind of interactions that nourish your soul and enrich your life. The concept of flow, as applied to human relationships, offers a powerful mental framework. It shifts the focus from achieving an outcome to enjoying the process of connecting. It emphasizes the importance of being fully present and engaged in each interaction, no matter how brief. The researchers discovered that when teams experience flow, they are more innovative and productive. This same principle applies to our personal lives. When we are deeply connected, we become more creative, more resilient, and more capable of navigating life's challenges. The modern world often promotes a transactional view of relationships, where individuals are seen as resources or opportunities. This perspective is antithetical to the principles of flow and deep connection. It fosters a sense of isolation and superficiality. The scientific evidence is clear. Deep human connection is not a luxury, it is a necessity, and it is a capacity that can be intentionally cultivated. The principles derived from the study of team flow provide a powerful and practical guide for achieving this. The journey of building deep connections is ongoing. It requires consistent effort and a willingness to learn and adapt, but the rewards are immeasurable. It is about transforming your life from one of isolation to one of profound belonging. The key is to understand that every interaction is an opportunity to create a deeper connection. It is about approaching each person with genuine curiosity and a desire to understand their world. It is about being willing to share your own world in return. The science behind flow states provides a compelling argument for prioritizing quality over quantity in our relationships. It suggests that a few deeply connected relationships are far more beneficial than many superficial ones. This is a crucial insight in our hyperconnected, yet often lonely, world. The research highlights that flow is an intrinsically rewarding experience. This means that the very act of creating deep connections is enjoyable and fulfilling. It is not a chore, but a source of genuine pleasure. The challenge for many is to overcome the inertia of superficiality. It is easier to engage in small talk than to delve into deeper conversations. But the rewards of genuine connection lie beyond the comfort zone. The principles of flow, when applied to interpersonal relationships, offer a powerful antidote to loneliness. They empower individuals to actively create the meaningful connections they crave. It is about shifting from a passive recipient of social interaction to an active architect of belonging. The scientific study by Van den Hout and colleagues offers a profound understanding of what makes human interactions truly fulfilling. It moves beyond simple advice and provides a framework for cultivating a state of optimal experience in our relationships. This is not just about feeling good. It is about building the kind of connections that sustain us. The impact of this knowledge is transformative. It allows you to approach every social encounter with a renewed sense of purpose and a clear understanding of how to foster genuine connection. It empowers you to move beyond superficiality and to build relationships that are rich, meaningful, and lasting. This is the essence of truly thriving in the modern world. Let me tell you about a woman named Sarah. She worked in a very demanding corporate environment, the kind where everyone seemed to be in a constant state of hurried performance. Sarah was good at her job, very good in fact, but she felt an persistent emptiness. Her interactions were mostly transactional, focused on tasks and deadlines. She had colleagues, of course, but no real friends. She would go home each evening feeling a profound sense of isolation, even when surrounded by people all day. The superficial chatter of the office felt like a constant hum of meaningless noise. One day, Sarah stumbled upon an article discussing the concept of flow in teams. It spoke about how individuals become completely absorbed in an activity, losing track of time and self-consciousness. The article mentioned that this state, this deep engagement, led to remarkable productivity and creativity. Sarah found herself drawn to the idea, but she wondered if it could apply to something as intangible as human connection. The article's authors, Van den Hout and his colleagues, explored this team flow and its impact on collaborative efforts. Sarah saw a parallel between the intense focus of a high-performing team and the kind of deep connection she craved. She decided to experiment, to consciously apply the principles of flow to her own relationships. Her first target was a new colleague, David, who also seemed a bit reserved. Instead of the usual brief pleasantries, Sarah made a deliberate choice. During their coffee break, she asked David about his weekend, not just as a formality but with genuine curiosity. She listened intently, putting away her phone, making eye contact, and asking follow-up questions that showed she was truly processing his words. It felt awkward at first, a departure from the norm, but she persisted. David, surprised by her genuine interest, opened up. He shared his passion for vintage motorcycles and a recent challenging restoration project. Sarah, who knew nothing about motorcycles, found herself completely captivated. She asked him about the intricate details, the frustrations, and the triumphs. For those 20 minutes, she wasn't thinking about her looming deadlines or office politics. She was fully present in the conversation, experiencing a subtle but distinct shift within herself. It was a tiny spark, but it was a spark of genuine connection. Over the next few weeks, Sarah continued this intentional approach. She made a point of engaging with other colleagues in a similar way. She asked about their hobbies, their families, their dreams, not just their work tasks. She learned that her quiet deskmate, Mark, was an amateur astronomer who dreamed of seeing a total solar eclipse. She discovered that the seemingly gruff IT manager, Brenda, volunteered at an animal shelter on weekends, dedicating her time to rescue dogs. Each conversation was an opportunity to step outside her own world and enter theirs, even for a short while. The results were not immediate, but they were undeniable. The superficial interactions began to fade. People started seeking Sarah out, not just for work-related matters, but to share a story or ask her opinion. The office, which once felt like a sterile environment, began to feel warmer, more human. David and Sarah developed a friendship, bonding over their shared curiosity and willingness to explore new interests. Mark started sharing photos of the constellations he captured, and Brenda invited Sarah to visit the shelter, a place filled with wagging tails and unconditional love. Sarah realized that building deep connections was not about grand gestures or extensive social calendars. It was about the quality of attention she offered. It was about the conscious decision to be fully present, to be genuinely curious, and to be willing to be vulnerable. This shift in her approach had a measurable impact on her well-being. She felt less stressed, more energized, and a profound sense of belonging within her workplace. The emptiness she had felt for so long began to recede, replaced by a quiet contentment. Now, let's delve into the fascinating mechanism behind this transformation. Imagine your brain as a complex network of electrical pathways, like a vast, intricate city. When we engage in superficial interactions, our brain uses very common, well-worn routes. These are the highways of small talk, the express lanes of polite greetings, the familiar streets of routine pleasantries. These pathways are efficient for quick exchanges, but they don't foster deep understanding or lasting bonds. However, when you engage in a conversation with genuine curiosity, asking insightful questions, and actively listening, You are essentially building new pathways. Think of it like exploring uncharted territories within your own mind and the mind of the other person. Each deep question you ask, each thoughtful response you receive, is like laying down new cobblestones, forging new connections between previously disconnected areas of your neural network. This process is energy-intensive initially, like clearing new ground for construction. The state of flow, that deep absorption she experienced, is like activating a powerful, specialized construction crew. When you are in flow, your brain prioritizes the task at hand, shutting out distractions and dedicating immense resources to the process. In the context of relationships, this means your brain is actively engaged in understanding, empathizing, and connecting. It's not just passively receiving information, it's actively constructing meaning and building bridges. The neurotransmitters involved, like dopamine and oxytocin, are released, creating a sense of reward and bonding. This is not just a feeling, it's a biological process that reinforces the behavior, making you more likely to seek out these deep connections again. The metaphor I want to offer is this. Think of your consciousness as a deep-sea diver. Superficial interactions are like skimming the surface of the ocean, only seeing the brief glint of sunlight on the waves. You might see a lot of activity, a lot of movement, but you are not truly experiencing the depths. Building deep connections is like taking that diver down into the unexplored trenches. You are venturing into the unknown, encountering incredible biodiversity, witnessing breathtaking landscapes, and discovering wonders that are hidden from the casual observer. The deeper you go, the more you are exposed to the true richness and complexity of the ocean. Each new species you encounter, each new geological formation you discover, adds to your understanding and appreciation of the vastness and beauty of the underwater world. This is what happens when you dive deep into another person's experience. You are not just seeing the surface-level persona. You are discovering their unique ecosystem, their intricate motivations, their hidden treasures. This is where true understanding and profound connection reside, far beneath the superficial currents. Now here comes the unexpected twist, a paradox that might shift your perspective entirely. We often believe that building deep connections requires immense effort, a constant expenditure of energy, like always being the one to initiate or to delve deeper. We might think that if the other person isn't meeting us halfway, then the effort is wasted, or the connection isn't worth pursuing. But the science of flow and deep connection suggests something quite different, something almost counterintuitive. The paradox is this: the more you intentionally create opportunities for deep connection, the less effort it ultimately requires, and the more effortless it becomes. It sounds like a contradiction, doesn't it? How can more effort lead to less effort? The answer lies in the reinforcing nature of these neural pathways and the intrinsic rewards of flow. When you consistently engage in genuine curiosity and deep listening, you are not just building pathways for that specific conversation. You are strengthening your overall capacity for connection. Think about learning a new skill like playing a musical instrument. In the beginning, every note feels like a struggle, every chord a challenge. It demands immense concentration and effort. But as you practice, as you build those neural pathways, the movements become more fluid, the music flows more naturally. The effort doesn't disappear, but it transforms. It becomes the effort of mastery, of expression, rather than the effort of basic execution. Similarly, with deep connections, the initial effort of asking probing questions and truly listening trains your brain to be more attuned to subtle cues, to be more comfortable with vulnerability, and to find genuine pleasure in the process. Your brain starts to anticipate and even crave these interactions. The superficial chatter becomes less appealing, and the deep dives become more rewarding, requiring less conscious exertion because the pathways are already established and the reward system is activated. Furthermore, when you consistently offer genuine connection, you often inspire it in return. People are drawn to authenticity and depth. Your willingness to be vulnerable can create a safe space for others to be vulnerable as well. So, the effort you invest doesn't just benefit you, it can ripple outwards, fostering a culture of deeper connection around you. This is where the effortless aspect comes in. It's not that there's no effort involved, but rather that the effort becomes a natural outflow of your cultivated capacity, and it's amplified by the reciprocal nature of human connection. This paradox challenges the common notion that deep relationships are exclusively for the exceptionally charismatic or those with endless free time. It suggests that anyone can cultivate this capacity through consistent, intentional practice, and that this practice, over time, becomes its own reward, making the pursuit of deep connection less of a daunting task and more of an inherent joy. It means that the initial awkwardness or perceived difficulty is a temporary phase, a necessary investment in building a richer, more fulfilling social life. The unanswered question that lingers from our earlier discussion is about the sustainability of this depth. If the world constantly pulls us towards superficiality, how do we maintain these deep connections when life gets busy or when external pressures mount? We've seen how the brain builds pathways, how the diver explores the depths, and the paradox of effort leading to ease. But what happens when the diver's oxygen runs low, or when storms churn the ocean's surface? The answer, I believe, lies not in eliminating the challenges, but in understanding that deep connections are not static achievements but dynamic processes. They are like a garden that needs continuous tending, not a monument that stands unchanged. The very act of applying the principles of flow to maintain these connections, even in small ways, becomes the key to their longevity. It's about recognizing that a brief, truly present check-in with a friend can be more nourishing than a long, distracted phone call. It's about understanding that the intention behind the interaction matters more than the duration. The journey continues, and the next steps involve not just building these connections, but actively nurturing them through the inevitable ebb and flow of life. There was a woman named Sarah, a graphic designer living in a bustling city, who felt a profound sense of isolation despite being surrounded by people. Her days were filled with client meetings and project deadlines, and her evenings were often spent scrolling through social media, observing the curated highlight reels of others' lives. She had acquaintances, colleagues she exchanged pleasantries with, but no one she felt she could truly confide in, no one who understood the quiet hum of anxiety that often accompanied her creative process. Sarah yearned for something more, a genuine connection that felt substantial and real in a world that often felt fleeting and superficial. One particularly lonely evening, after a frustrating day where a client had dismissed her work with a curt email, Sarah found herself staring at her phone, the endless stream of perfect vacation photos and celebratory announcements making her feel even more inadequate. She had a friend, Mark, whom she'd known since college. They'd drifted apart somewhat, their lives taking different paths, but there was a warmth and understanding in their past interactions that Sarah remembered fondly. Mark was a writer, someone who seemed comfortable with introspection and the messier aspects of life. Sarah decided to do something that felt incredibly brave for her. She sent Mark a text message, not about work or a fleeting event, but a simple, honest confession. She wrote, "Hey Mark, I'm having a rough day, feeling really disconnected and wondering if you might have some time to chat sometime this week. No pressure at all, but I'd really appreciate it." She reread the message several times, her heart pounding. It felt vulnerable, exposed, and utterly terrifying. She almost deleted it, telling herself it was too much, too needy. But a small, persistent voice urged her to send it. Mark responded within minutes, "Sarah, I'm so sorry to hear that. Absolutely, how about tomorrow evening? I'll make us some tea and we can just talk, or not talk, whatever feels right." This immediate, uncomplicated acceptance, without judgment or hesitation, was like a balm to her soul. The simple act of reaching out, of expressing her need for connection, had already begun to shift something within her. The next evening, Sarah found herself at Mark's cozy apartment. The air was filled with the comforting aroma of brewing tea, and the soft glow of a lamp cast a warm light on his bookshelves. They sat on his comfortable sofa, and Sarah, to her surprise, found the words flowing. She spoke about the client's feedback, about the gnawing feeling of inadequacy, about the loneliness that had been her constant companion. She didn't censor herself, didn't try to put on a brave face. She simply shared her truth. Mark listened intently, not interrupting, not offering platitudes. When she finished, he simply said, "That sounds incredibly tough, Sarah. It takes a lot of courage to put yourself out there, especially when you're feeling vulnerable. I've had days like that too, where the words just won't come, and the self-doubt is deafening." He then shared a story about a time he'd struggled with writer's block, the immense pressure he'd felt, and how he'd eventually found solace in admitting his struggle to a fellow writer. There was no immediate solution offered, no quick fix. But in that shared vulnerability, in that acknowledgement of shared human experience, something profound happened. Sarah felt a weight lift. She felt seen, understood, and less alone. It wasn't a magical cure, but it was a tangible shift. The effort she had made to reach out, to be honest about her feelings, had yielded a reward far greater than she could have imagined, a genuine human connection. This initial conversation sparked a series of similar interactions with Mark, and slowly, tentatively, Sarah began to extend that same vulnerability to other relationships in her life. She started asking colleagues more personal questions, not just about their work, but about their lives, their passions, their challenges. She began to truly listen, not just waiting for her turn to speak, but absorbing their words, their emotions, their unspoken cues. The measurable result of Sarah's decision was a gradual but significant decrease in her feelings of isolation. She found that by initiating genuine connection, she often received it in return. Her relationships became richer, more nuanced. She discovered that the effort she had once perceived as daunting was, in fact, an investment that paid immense dividends in emotional well-being. She no longer felt like an observer in her own life, but an active participant, deeply connected to the people around her. This wasn't about accumulating a large number of friends. It was about cultivating a few deeply meaningful bonds. The superficial chatter that once filled her time now felt less appealing, and the deeper conversations, though sometimes challenging, became the most fulfilling parts of her day. This transformation wasn't instantaneous. It was a process, a gradual unfolding, but the initial brave step Sarah took was the catalyst for a more connected and fulfilling life. Now, let's try to understand the mechanism behind this profound shift, how it works not just in Sarah's story, but within the very architecture of our being. Imagine your brain as a vast, intricate library, filled with countless books representing your experiences, your memories, your learned behaviors. When you engage in superficial interactions, it's like the librarian constantly pulling out the same few well-worn pamphlets and brochures from the front desk. These are easily accessible, require little effort to retrieve, and offer a quick, shallow overview of various topics. They serve a purpose, providing basic information, but they rarely offer deep insight or lasting understanding. Now, consider the act of building a deep connection. This is akin to a dedicated researcher venturing into the deepest, most obscure archives of that library. They are not just looking for readily available pamphlets. They are seeking out rare manuscripts, forgotten journals, and personal letters that hold the raw, unfiltered essence of a story. This process requires significant effort. The researcher has to navigate dimly lit corridors, decipher ancient scripts, and piece together fragmented narratives. They have to be patient, persistent, and willing to spend time immersed in the material. In the same way, when you make the conscious effort to ask a probing question, to truly listen without interruption, to share a piece of your own vulnerability, you are essentially sending your brain's researcher into those deep archives. You are actively seeking out the rare manuscripts of another person's inner world. The initial effort feels significant because you are forging new pathways, creating new connections between neural clusters that might not have been accessed before. It's like clearing a path through dense undergrowth. It's slow, requires exertion, and can be a bit uncomfortable. But here's where the magic begins. Every time you engage in this deeper form of connection, your brain's researcher brings back a precious artifact. They might bring back a fragment of a forgotten memory, a nuanced emotion, a deeply held belief, or a shared moment of understanding. These artifacts are then meticulously cataloged and stored in the deeper sections of your mental library. The more you engage in this process, the more artifacts you collect, and the more established those pathways become. What was once a difficult expedition into the archives starts to feel less arduous. Your brain's researcher becomes more adept at navigating the labyrinth. The ancient scripts become easier to decipher. The fragmented narratives begin to form coherent stories with less effort. This is because your brain is actually rewiring itself, strengthening the neural connections associated with deep listening, empathy, and authentic sharing. The effort doesn't disappear entirely, but it transforms. It becomes the practiced ease of an expert archivist who knows precisely where to look and how to interpret the findings. This is the essence of the flow state applied to human connection. When you are in flow, the task at hand feels both challenging and manageable, and you are fully immersed in the activity. In the context of deep connection, the task is the interaction itself. When you've practiced building these deep connections, the interaction becomes less about a conscious, forced effort and more about an intuitive, flowing engagement. You are no longer just pulling pamphlets from the front desk. You are expertly navigating the archives, discovering treasures, and building a rich, multi-layered understanding of the people in your life. The reward system in your brain gets activated by these discoveries, making the pursuit of depth inherently more appealing and less like a chore. Now let's consider the unexpected twist, the paradox that often blindsides us when we talk about deep human connection. We tend to think of deep relationships as requiring immense amounts of time and energy, as something reserved for those who have the luxury of leisure. We imagine grand gestures, lengthy conversations, and constant availability. But what if the most profound depth is often found not in the quantity of time, but in the quality of presence? And what if that quality can be cultivated even in the briefest of encounters? Think back to Sarah. Her most significant breakthrough didn't happen during a week-long retreat or a marathon conversation. It happened in a single, honest text message followed by a focused hour of genuine dialogue. This is the paradox. The pursuit of depth can be initiated and sustained through moments that are remarkably brief, provided they are imbued with authenticity and true presence. It's like a single, perfectly ripened fruit from a carefully tended tree, offering more nourishment than a whole basket of unripe produce. The unanswered question from earlier was about sustainability, about maintaining depth when life gets busy. The twist is that the very principles of building depth are also the principles of sustaining it. It's not about carving out vast swathes of time that we don't have. It's about infusing the small pockets of time we do have with genuine connection. A 5-minute phone call where you truly listen to a friend's struggles without distraction can be more nourishing than an hour-long catch-up where both parties are multitasking. A shared glance of understanding across a crowded room, a brief but heartfelt compliment, a moment of shared laughter over a silly observation. These are all micro-moments of depth. This is where the concept of flow becomes particularly powerful in understanding sustainability. When you are in a state of flow, time seems to warp. An hour can feel like minutes, and the engagement is so absorbing that the external world fades away. When you approach your interactions with the intention of creating these moments of deep connection, even brief ones, you are more likely to enter a state of flow within that interaction. This makes the interaction inherently more rewarding and sustainable, even if it's short. Your brain, having been trained to seek and appreciate these deeper exchanges, starts to recognize and activate these pathways more readily, even in condensed interactions. The unexpected paradox is this: the world pulls us towards superficiality because it seems easier, less demanding, and more readily available. We are bombarded with the illusion of connection through constant digital notifications and fleeting social media exchanges. But the true antidote to this superficiality isn't necessarily more time, but a more intentional and present approach to the time we have. The sustainability of deep connections doesn't lie in a Herculean effort to constantly be available for long periods, but in the consistent cultivation of presence and authenticity in every interaction, no matter how brief. This challenges the notion that deep relationships are a luxury we can only afford when life is calm. Instead, it suggests that deep connections are a fundamental human need that can be met, in part, through the skillful navigation of our busy lives. It's about recognizing that the quality of our presence is far more impactful than the quantity of our time. The diver doesn't need to stay submerged for hours to experience the ocean's depths. A single, well-executed dive can reveal wonders. Similarly, a single, truly present conversation can forge a bond that withstands the storms of life. This realization can be both liberating and slightly unsettling. Liberating because it means you don't need to overhaul your entire life to build meaningful connections. Unsettling because it requires a shift in our perception of what constitutes valuable interaction. It means actively choosing presence over distraction, authenticity over performance, and depth over breadth, even in the smallest of moments. It means understanding that the foundation of lasting connection is not built on grand pronouncements, but on the quiet, consistent practice of showing up, truly present, for ourselves and for others. The journey continues, and as we explore these deeper layers, we begin to see that the path to profound human connection is not always paved with grand gestures, but often with the quiet courage of genuine presence. We often find ourselves making certain common missteps when we're trying to build these deeper connections in our lives. It's easy to fall into these patterns without even realizing it, and acknowledging them can be a little uncomfortable because we've all been there. One of the most prevalent mistakes is the illusion of connection through mere proximity or shared activity. We might spend a lot of time with people, perhaps colleagues at work or even family members, and assume that because we are physically present together, a deep connection is automatically forming. This is like believing that standing in a library automatically makes you knowledgeable about every book on the shelves. It simply isn't true. True connection requires active engagement, vulnerability, and a genuine interest in the other person's inner world, not just their outer presence. We mistake shared space for shared experience and shared time for shared understanding. And this is a fundamental error that keeps us from truly bonding. Another significant error we make is the tendency to prioritize breadth over depth, especially in our digital age. We collect hundreds, even thousands of online friends or followers, and we feel a sense of social validation from this large network. However, these connections are often incredibly shallow, based on curated highlights and superficial interactions. We spend our energy maintaining this vast, but ultimately weak, network, leaving little time or emotional capacity for the few, truly deep relationships that nourish our souls. It's like trying to water an entire desert with a single watering can. You spread yourself too thin and achieve very little lasting growth. We become so focused on the appearance of having many connections that we neglect the quality, believing that quantity somehow equates to fulfillment. This is a dangerous trade-off that leaves us feeling isolated even when surrounded by a crowd, both online and off. The third pervasive mistake is the fear of vulnerability, which acts as a powerful barrier to genuine intimacy. We present a polished, perfected version of ourselves to the world, afraid that our imperfections, our doubts, or our struggles will be met with judgment or rejection. This fear, while understandable, prevents us from allowing others to truly see us and, in turn, prevents us from truly seeing them. We build walls instead of bridges, and these walls, while offering a sense of safety, also isolate us. We believe that by hiding our true selves, we are protecting ourselves, but in reality, we are starving ourselves of the very connection we crave. This constant performance, this effort to maintain an unblemished facade, is exhausting and ultimately counterproductive to building the kind of bonds that can withstand life's inevitable challenges. It's a sophisticated form of self-sabotage, driven by a deep-seated insecurity that ironically pushes away the very acceptance we seek. So, how do we move beyond these common pitfalls and actively cultivate deeper connections? The approach requires a conscious shift in our mindset and a commitment to intentional action. It's a step-by-step process that, when practiced consistently, can profoundly transform our relationships. The first crucial step is to redefine what constitutes meaningful interaction. Instead of waiting for long, uninterrupted blocks of time, which are often rare, we need to learn to recognize and create opportunities for depth within the brief moments we have. This means being fully present, putting away distractions, and actively listening with genuine curiosity. When you are talking with someone, even for just a few minutes, make a conscious decision to put your phone away, to make eye contact, and to truly hear what they are saying, not just waiting for your turn to speak. Ask follow-up questions that show you are engaged and interested in their perspective. This simple act of focused attention signals to the other person that they are valued and that their thoughts and feelings matter. The second step involves practicing intentional vulnerability. This doesn't mean oversharing every detail of your life to strangers, but rather gradually and appropriately revealing your authentic self to those you are building a connection with. Start small. Share a personal anecdote that reveals a little about your values or your experiences. Offer an honest opinion, even if it's slightly different from what you think the other person expects. When you feel a pang of fear about revealing something, recognize it as an opportunity. Take a deep breath and choose to be brave. This act of courage, of showing your true colors, invites the other person to do the same, creating a reciprocal exchange of trust and openness. It's about letting go of the need for perfection and embracing the beauty of imperfection, understanding that our shared humanity is what truly connects us. Third, we need to actively nurture our existing connections by prioritizing quality over quantity. This might mean consciously reducing the number of superficial interactions you engage in, both online and offline, and dedicating more of your energy to the people who truly matter. Instead of scrolling endlessly through social media, consider sending a thoughtful text message to a friend asking how they are really doing. Instead of agreeing to every social invitation, choose the ones that offer the potential for deeper conversation and connection. It's about making deliberate choices that align with your goal of fostering meaningful relationships. This might feel like saying no more often, but it's actually saying yes to the connections that will bring you the most fulfillment. It's about recognizing that your time and emotional energy are precious resources, and they should be invested wisely. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, we must cultivate self-awareness and self-compassion throughout this process. Building deep connections is not always easy, and there will be times when you stumble, when you say the wrong thing, or when you feel you haven't been as present as you'd like. Instead of beating yourself up, acknowledge the moment, learn from it, and offer yourself the same kindness and understanding you would offer a friend. This self-compassion is crucial because it allows you to keep trying, to keep growing, and to keep opening yourself up to genuine connection. It's about understanding that this is a journey, not a destination, and that every step, even the missteps, contributes to your growth. Let me share a couple of quick examples of people who have applied these principles with remarkable results. Take Sarah, for instance. Sarah was a marketing executive who felt incredibly isolated despite working in a large, bustling office. She had hundreds of LinkedIn connections and a constant stream of emails, but no one she felt she could truly confide in. She decided to implement a new mental framework. She started by making a conscious effort to engage more deeply with the few colleagues she felt a slight rapport with. Instead of just exchanging pleasantries by the coffee machine, she began asking them about their weekend plans or their thoughts on a project, and she genuinely listened to their answers. She also started sharing small, authentic pieces of her own life, like a funny story about her dog or a challenge she was facing in her personal life. Within a few months, she noticed a significant shift. Two of her colleagues started inviting her for lunch, and they began having open, honest conversations about their work and their lives. One of these colleagues, David, confided in Sarah about a difficult family situation, and Sarah, in turn, felt comfortable sharing her own anxieties about a recent professional setback. This mutual vulnerability forged a strong bond. Sarah reported feeling a dramatic increase in her overall happiness and a significant reduction in her feelings of isolation. Her productivity at work even improved because she felt more supported and understood. Then there's Mark, a freelance graphic designer who struggled with loneliness and the feeling of being disconnected from the world. His work was largely solitary, and his social interactions were often superficial and brief. He decided to tackle his fear of vulnerability head-on. He had a passion for vintage photography, a hobby he usually kept to himself. He joined an online forum dedicated to this interest, but instead of just lurking and liking posts, he started sharing his own experimental photography projects and openly asked for constructive criticism. He also shared the challenges he faced in getting the right lighting or developing certain film types. Initially, he felt a knot of anxiety with each post, fearing judgment. However, the community responded with incredible warmth and support. Other photographers offered practical advice, shared their own struggles, and complimented his unique style. One member, an experienced photographer named Alina, reached out to Mark privately, offering detailed feedback on his work and sharing her own journey. They began exchanging emails regularly, discussing techniques, sharing inspiration, and eventually even planning a collaborative project. Mark found that this consistent, authentic engagement not only improved his photography skills, but also provided him with a profound sense of belonging and purpose. He went from feeling like an isolated observer to an active, valued member of a creative community, all because he dared to be vulnerable and share his passion. The key to transforming your relationships is not about waiting for the perfect circumstances or for vast amounts of free time to magically appear. It's about making a conscious choice, right here, right now, to engage differently with the people in your life. It's about recognizing that the power to create deeper connections lies not in grand gestures, but in the consistent, courageous practice of being present and authentic. So here is the one single action you can take today. Right now, as you finish listening to this program, think of one person in your life with whom you want to build a deeper connection. It could be a friend, a family member, a colleague, or even a neighbor. Then send them a brief, authentic message. It doesn't need to be profound or elaborate. Simply say something like, "I was thinking of you today and wanted to see how you're really doing." Or, "I really enjoyed our conversation the other day. It made me think about X," or even just, "Hope you're having a good day." The content is less important than the intention behind it. The intention is to reach out, to acknowledge their existence, and to open a small door for genuine interaction. Don't overthink it. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Do it now. This simple act is the first ripple in a pond, the first spark in a fire. It's the beginning of consciously choosing depth over superficiality, presence over distraction, and authenticity over performance. The world will continue to pull you towards the easy path of fleeting interactions, but you have the power to choose a different way. You have the power to cultivate connections that nourish your soul and enrich your life. Remember, the most profound journeys often begin with a single, brave step. Take that step today.